Much more on this now. We're joined by Democratic Congressman Mike Quigley of Illinois to get the view of what's happening within his party. Congressman, first, I'd like to get your reaction to President Biden's comments last night at this private fundraiser that he was traveling too much in the weeks before the debate, implying he was operating on little sleep and jet lag. Is that a good enough explanation for you?
Let me begin by saying I would rather be doing and saying anything but this. This is extraordinarily painful. I have the greatest respect for the president, and I know how much he puts into this. And he took us back from the clutches of January 6th, restored the rule of law and our democracy. And, you know, so it's hard to say no. I mean, this is more than just a single night's problem. The fact is, you have to accept the voters where they are, not where you want them to be. So the rigors he talked about just now leading up to this debate are frankly the normal rigors of being the president of the United States. I think he can handle that. Of great concern is, can he handle that? And what was a tough race, and the quote attributed to President Obama, that he just made it a lot tougher. The challenge is going to be brutal now because he has to catch up. The polling at best shows that he's stayed where he was. Well, he's got to move up in those polls. And how do you convince voters who saw what they saw Thursday? There's not going to be another debate. Candidate Trump's people are smart enough to, what was the Latin phrase we learned in law school, res ipsa loquitur, it speaks for itself. So there'll be very few opportunities for President Biden to convince the voters that it was a single night's issue and that he can win in November, unfortunately.
So last night, President Biden did speak with your leader, House Minority Leader Jeffries, on the phone. There has been some frustration from many of your colleagues at the White House. The president himself has not done enough outreach to Democrats on the Hill. What more would you like to see and hear from him? Should the president be calling rank and file members like yourself and talking to him about the path forward to convince you that he's got what it takes to win?
I mean, look, I don't need a call. You know, my ego's not that big, but I think it's telling that in the days after a bad debate from President Obama midway through his time in office, he made those calls immediately. Unfortunately, very sad, those calls weren't made by President Biden immediately to reassure people, to help them understand. With respect, it shows, again, an indication of a bigger problem. And frankly, having done this for a long time, most presidential campaigns are very insular. They don't like to be told what to do. They don't like people not going along with the talking points. So you know why this has been so difficult for members to speak out. Because as difficult as this is, the specter of a second term from President Trump is far worse. And I think that's why you'll see more and more members talk about their concerns.
Well, and one of the defense that we're hearing from Democrats, in fact, it's the defense you're making to me this morning, is that the Biden agenda has been successful and popular. The voters like what he's accomplished in these last 3.5 years. But if that's the case, and Biden's still lagging behind down ballot Democrats, and he's tied with Biden or Trump, or even behind in some of these polls, isn't it the president that's the X factor himself that's making this a close race, and part of the reason the Democrats have to examine what the path forward is?
Well, I think that's right. And, you know, it's unfair. You know, I think President Biden has probably had the most underrated presidency in my lifetime, at least. But unfortunately, it is back to where the voters are, not where we want them to be. What I would say to the president is your legacy is cemented. You're an important historical figure who has virtually helped save our democracy. And perhaps when you make this decision, would remember that it not only impacts who will serve in the White House the next 4 years, but who will serve in the Senate, who will serve in the House. Do you really want to give someone who has said they're going to be a dictator the first day in office, not just control the White House, but the House and the Senate? And as you know, the House margins are very slim. Control of the House will be single digits no matter who is in control. And those races, maybe 40 or 50 of them, are razor thin. You know, the frontliners I talked to expressed great concern on the day after the debate because it's their races that are on the line.
Congressman, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it does seem as though you're open to the idea that President Biden stepping aside is a viable option for your party. Am I reading what you're telling me correctly?
Look, we all take different approaches to this. I saw what Representative Doggett said, and I know what others might say. We all take a different approach. Mine comes from a love and respect for this man, and I don't feel like I can tell him what he must do. I can only advise him because, and honestly, no one can tell him. He has to make this decision alone. No one else can. I just ask that he be honest with himself about the situation, what he faces, and what the impact will be on history.
All right, Congressman Mike Quigley, thank you for being so honest with us, sir, and enjoy your 4th of July. We appreciate you being here.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn, MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.